Welcome along to another edition of Matchbook's Weekend Football Podcast, the podcast that has been in terrific form the last couple of weeks. The guys decided to take a week's holidays, different stages, but they're all back together here. Mark O'Hare and Adrian Clarke. The week before last, we didn't have Adrian Clarke. Mark O'Hare kept it slim, 5 bets, 4 winners. Adrian Clarke, last week I challenged you to top Mark. I didn't expect that, you'd do as much. You'd 7 selections. And he just had 7 winners, mate. Wasn't a bad weekend, Adrian.
No, I'll take that. You got to enjoy these moments, that's for sure. My competitive juices just kicked into gear there, didn't they? I was like, I can't let Mark beat me. So, but no, it worked out all right. I mean, they were all, they're all justified picks, but they don't always come in like that, do they?
Yes.
But this time around, they did.
I thought, obviously, look, Bristol Rovers was the only one that we could probably say, look, we're lucky with that. But the rest of them were pretty comfortable, Adrian. I thought there wasn't too many sweats there. So, yeah, well done. And the general theme was last week, and I know sometimes it can be really easy at this time of the season to say, oh, look, this team's got something to play for. This other team hasn't, so we got to back the team. But to be fair, the cases were strong. You went with that team. There were a lot of favourites. We paired them up with unders and overs, goals, bets, and they were terrific in that sense. Adrian and Mark, I want to get your quick take. Obviously, we're recording this early on Thursday morning, fresh from that, amazing game at the Burnley. And Liverpool Quadruple special, that was 7.6. That was 10.5 yesterday. Look, I mean, they're good favourites in the final against Madrid. That's not going to be easy either, let's be honest about it. And I'd be wary of Chelsea. I know that they're doing nothing in the league here, but it's Tuchel, one cup final. He will have them set up right. 7.6 though. Mark O'Hare, it's on. Bar one.
It is on.
One City lost. Yeah.
It is on. I mean, Liverpool were favourites to win the Champions League before this midweek anyway. So almost not a huge amount has changed. Obviously, their task in the final will be slightly easy, you'd expect, without City being there. But they'll be heavy favourites to win the FA Cup as well. I think they're around 2-1 to win the Premier League, and obviously that's the tougher task now. But with City, who knows where their heads are at going into the final few games. They do have the softer schedule, and Liverpool do have a very difficult game now on Saturday. So, if you're going to get involved, probably now is the time, or a few weeks ago was the time. But certainly, I think that the Premier League is going to be the most difficult task, and that's around 2-1 to win it. So, if you think Liverpool can win the Premier League, then absolutely back the quadruple then at 7.6.
Adrian, quick thoughts on this one. Look, Mark touched on it there. How does Pep get his? I noticed their run is pretty easy. They got a big squad. You can plug a few guys in there. But being in that final the 28th of May in Paris, they were there. They were in it, and it's going to be hard to lift themselves now.
Oh, it was demoralising, wasn't it? And they'll take some picking up. The motivation is clear. It's let's not waste this season. We have to win the Premier League now. And it could refocus their minds. But in the same breath, it's bound to affect a little bit of confidence, spirit inside the dressing room. They won't be bouncing, will they? They'll be very, very serious. I'd imagine a little bit quiet in the wake of what happened, because I think it was pretty criminal, really, on their part to not win that tie. I mean, they were superior for almost all of it, yet they somehow conspired to gift goals to Real Madrid, and defensively making bad decisions. And when you come into the title run-in where the pressure is on, if guys like Diaz and Laporte are making bad decisions on a consistent basis in big games, that could impact them. So, they've shown their fallibility, that's for sure.
Yeah, of course, they have Newcastle on Sunday. We won't actually directly discuss that game, but we will start with Liverpool in a second. If you're looking for that Liverpool quadruple special, look, you can go onto the odds checker grid, put in the 3 selections: Champions League, FA Cup, and Premier League title, and we will be best prices 7.6 currently at the time of recording. If you don't have a Matchbook account, you want to get involved in this. This is under podcast specials at matchbook.com, and you can use the bonus code INSIGHTS30 to avail of a £30 welcome offer, and that's money back as a free bet if your first bet loses up to £30. So you could use it on that one, the Liverpool quadruple, but the all-important part is use the bonus code INSIGHTS30. That's the digits 30, and full terms and conditions can be found at insights.matchbook.com. All right, gentlemen, let's start off Saturday night at Anfield, Liverpool against Tottenham. Adrian, I'll come to you first in this one, but let's take a look at the betting as we have it at matchbook.com. Currently, you can back the Reds here at 1.47, Spurs at 7.6, the draw available at 5.2, Tottenham getting a goal and a quarter start in the main age and handicap line at 1.93 is the total, and is slightly shaded towards the over. Adrian, this is going to be no walk in the park for Liverpool. I think that as great as they are, the machine, like, this is a tough test.
I think it is. Yeah, there are a lot of Arsenal fans out there that are like, "Wow, Spurs have got Liverpool. They'll lose that one, and then we can beat Leeds, and it's almost there." And I'm like, whoa, hold on a little bit, because Tottenham Hotspur, obviously they scored 3 at City, 2 at United. They scored at Arsenal. They're a dangerous side, particularly away from home. And stylistically, Liverpool are good opponents for them, I'd say, in terms of the matchup in tactical approaches, because they will pile their fullbacks forward. And when they do, who's going to surge into those spaces in behind? It's going to be Son, maybe Kulusevski. So that is a definite advantage for them. And obviously, when Kane comes short, they'll look to slip him in as well from third man runs. So no, I think that Tottenham have a chance here. Traditionally it's quite a high scoring fixture. I think it's the second highest scoring Premier League fixture out there. Liverpool against Tottenham. It's a game that involves a lot of goals. Kane has a very good record against them, 9 goals in 13, and I think he's 9 goal contributions in 13. So he's a player that can deliver, I think, on this stage. Liverpool, obviously, we know they're brilliant. I saw them commentating on the game against Newcastle last weekend. They should have won that one by more than 1 goal. They're just not making very many mistakes. But we saw, didn't we, in Villarreal? If you can get after them, if you can press them and really harass them, then you can open them up. You've got to be ruthless. You've got to be efficient. Spurs are ruthless and efficient. They're not creative, but when they get chances, they invariably tuck them away with sort of more of a clinical edge than the majority of teams. So no, I give them a chance here. I really do. Liverpool, obviously favourites, and I would expect them to win, but it wouldn't surprise me if this was a score draw. I think Tottenham rather, on the 1.25 goal handicap appeals for sure, because I think they can keep things competitive in the game. I think that's 1.9. But when I weigh everything up, I think about Spurs' goal threat. Obviously, Spurs aren't the best at the back, and Liverpool score in every home game. I do think both teams to score is probably just about the strongest pick here. I want to avoid nailing my colours to the mast on a team and just go with the goals angle here.
Yeah, Mark, I think you're in a similar agreement here, that you feel that Tottenham can get on the score sheet.
Yeah, very, very similar as well. I weighed up the +1.25 start as well for Tottenham, but similar views really. I just thought, just take out the emotion of having to side of either team and just try and enjoy the game and cheer on goals, because it should be a good game. Liverpool arguably put in their worst 45 minutes of the whole season at Villarreal. Misplaced passes, errors, vulnerable defensively. I think it was down to the players. I think there was a complacency about their performance where Jurgen Klopp picked a strong team. He said in his press conference, we're going to have to suffer. There's going to be some pain in Spain. So, be ready for it. And I don't think the players were. I think they played like the tie was already done and dusted. And we saw the difference the second half made. I know they made a couple of tactical changes and substitutions, but even still, they are clearly a much better team than Villarreal are, and they showed it. But it'll be interesting now to see how they do react to this, because while they were going through that on Tuesday night, Spurs have their feet up, resting and preparing for this match. Huge game for both clubs, because if Tottenham were to lose here and Arsenal beat Leeds on Sunday, I think there's a 5-point gap between the two teams going into the derby next Thursday. So massive match for both teams, really. History is against Spurs. They've got a dreadful record against Liverpool in the Premier League, dreadful record at Anfield. We know all about Liverpool's home record at Anfield and in recent years and in recent seasons. But also, if you look to their last 24 matches that actually matter, they've won 22 of those, and the 2 that they didn't were against Man City and Chelsea in the League Cup final. So it's difficult to sort of really go against Liverpool, but I don't think Spurs will be intimidated at all by this. Conte especially, he'll absolutely relish the opportunity to go there and put in a game plan which might work. We've seen it against City. We've seen it actually when Liverpool went to Tottenham back in December. I thought they were the better team on the day. I know Liverpool had a few key players missing. They do have a high level of ability. It's just the consistency and trying to get that out of Tottenham is the issue. They've improved in both boxes under Conte. They have that incredible clinical ability as well in the final third. It's just trying to get the best out of them. We've seen Everton and Villarreal cause a few problems to Liverpool in recent weeks. I think Conte will have a plan to get amongst it. And actually, if you look at Liverpool's record against the top four, 5 of 7 have seen both teams scoring. 4 of those actually ended 2-2. So, the market is expecting goals here. The goal line is at 3, tailored towards the overs. Ordinarily, if that's the case, both teams to score would be a lot shorter than 1.78. So, in that sense, and also sort of stylistically and tactically, as Adrian's outlined, I think there is a good argument to say both teams to score is the best bet.
Yeah, I like this angle. It just strikes me as a kind of a 2-1, 3-1 kind of game, potentially 3-2. Love this 7:45 kickoff on Saturday night too. That's going to be
a bit of drama.
Yeah, a bit of drama, absolutely.
I mean, Conte, by the way, at Chelsea, I think he got 2 draws at Anfield. So he's someone that I think his record against Klopp stands up. I think there've been a lot of drawn games between Conte and Klopp. So as Mark outlines, he won't be intimidated. I don't think his players will be either.
All right, both teams to score a selection 1.78 at Anfield on Saturday night. Obviously, look, we discussed Tottenham's chances there in the top 4. Move swiftly on to Arsenal, who are very much in the box seat for that 4th place. And a win here, and a Spurs loss on Saturday night. It's a 5-point gap heading into that big one on Thursday night. Mark, I'll start with you for this one. Current betting as we have it, no surprise here to see the Gunners very short at 1.48. Leeds is 7.6. The draw available at 4.9. Leeds getting a 1.25 goal start on the Asian handicap of 1.873 is the total. And Mark, look, Leeds are right in that relegation battle, obviously with Burnley and Everton winning last weekend. It's a funny one because they've actually been doing quite well the last couple of weeks, again, away from top opposition, 11 points from 18. But Mark, they have struggled against the big boys this season, haven't they?
They have. Yes.
I undersold that one.
Yeah. I mean, I'll get to Leeds. I just wanted to, I've done it to death really this season, but this is Arsenal territory at home to bottom half opposition. I've said it many times, but actually this season alone, if you take out their results against the top 4, they already boast a 68% win record against the rest of the Premier League, which is remarkably strong and consistent. At home, they've won 11 of 14 at home against non-top 4 opposition. But I've said it before on previous podcasts. If you look at their results after they finished in the top 4, so you've got to go back to 2016-17, when Arsenal haven't been anywhere near their best in previous years. They've got a 74% win rate at home against bottom half opposition. And then their record at odds on at home in the Premier League over the last 100 Premier League matches, again, a 74% win rate. They are flat track bullies in this sort of environment, even when they've not been at their best, the sort of title winning teams. So, if you turn that 74% win probability into odds, you get a 1.35 quote. Obviously, that's not how you work out value or set your prices, but it gives you a decent demonstration, a nice guide as to where Arsenal might be or could be really. So immediately you look at the price, they're 1.48. I fully expect them to beat Leeds, and I do think they're valued because my prices are actually a bit closer to the 1.35. And you can make adjustments here and say, well, Thomas Partey is missing. There's doubts over White, Saka, and Tomiyasu. I think at least 2 of those will probably play. But and also, last week against a West Ham team who distracted with many players missing, they made a bit of a meal of it. And Arteta said, had to win ugly to get that victory. But I do think they're now in a good place. I do think this is a very good opportunity for them. And if you're going to make adjustments with no Thomas Partey, you absolutely have to make adjustments for Leeds because Cooper injured in the warm-up last week. There was a graphic in the game against Man City. Their record with and without him, it's atrocious without him. Stuart Dallas, hugely influential player, so versatile. He's now missing as well. Patrick Bamford already crocked. So 3 of arguably your key 5 players are missing here. Phillips, who's come back recently, probably hasn't hit the ground running or hit the standards he's probably set in previous years, understandably so. And Meslier, the goalkeeper. So, 3 really key players right down the spine of the side, missing again. Yes, they have improved in recent weeks. They've shown a bit better, but you mentioned the record against the good teams. 10 defeats from 10 against the top 6, conceding 42 goals. And I know a lot of it came under Marcelo Bielsa, but I think Jesse Marsch can be kind of bracketed in a similar sort of vein in terms of stylistically. They're giving away over 3 expected goals on average against the top 6 and 13.5 shots from inside the penalty area, which is just totally unsustainable, really. So, I contemplated the -1 Asian handicap because I thought it was reasonable enough. It's probably a little bit safer, but I'm going to be just take Arsenal to win and over 1.5 goals at a slightly shorter price, because you're just basically ruling out the 1-0 and any other scoreline by Arsenal win, we get paid out. And I think they win this game, and they should win it with room to spare.
Yeah, Adrian, this young Arsenal team, they haven't been phased by this, because this is a big deal, getting a Champions League spot for Arsenal. But the last couple of weeks, they play well, and they're not being phased.
Fantastic response, wasn't it? Because obviously they lost the 3 in a row, matches they should have won, and everyone said they've blown it. They haven't got what it takes, and then the 3 tough games, Chelsea, Man United, and West Ham, they win them all. I mean, they were flawed in all of them. They gave up a lot of chances in all of them, but they got their noses over the line. I've been really impressed by Eddie Nketiah, actually, up front. I think he's given them a new dimension. His hold-up play has been terrific, but he's got that movement where he can come short and hold it, or he can arc his runs in beyond. And I think that's helping to stretch matches out a little bit more from an Arsenal perspective. And what they want really is stretched football. Arsenal, they don't want the packed defences that where there's no space for their creative players to perform. They want room to run into, and I think with Leeds in the position that they are, they need to try and attack the game to some degree. They need to score goals, and I also feel that they just can't help it. That they're a sort of front foot team, Leeds, under Jesse Marsh as well. So yeah, I think it's the sort of game that will suit Arsenal. Mark's outlined all the stats. Yeah, Leeds, even though they've kept a few clean sheets lately, and they look less of a mess, shall we say, at the back. I was still looking at the last 5 games and the amount of shots that they're facing. There's over 14 shots in 4 of the last 5. I think shots on target, over 6 shots on target in 4 of those 5 games. They've ridden their luck a little bit in this run as well. So yeah, I expect Arsenal to create plenty, score at least twice, and win the game. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Spurs do prior to kickoff. But yeah,
these are a real concern now, aren't they, in terms of the relegation race? I think those key injuries have possibly going to derail what seemed to be quite a good thing in the making there.
I would have fancied Arsenal against them with their full strength, but that I think you're absolutely right to bring it up. Cooper's huge for them. Phillips is sort of feeling his way back. I watched the game in the Carabao Cup, and yeah, Phillips had a bit of a mare actually. He was nowhere near his best. If Dallas is out, that's a hammer blow as well, because he's quietly very, very influential for them. So yeah, no, I mean, fingers crossed from my end for a Gunners perspective that they can get the job done. But yeah, all sort of bias aside, you've got to fancy them. Against Leeds, and Leeds are very much in the mix for relegation now.
Yeah, so Arsenal currently pretty short, obviously 1.48. So we're going to pair them at 1.5 goals, so over 1.5 goals. That's not just Arsenal goals, that's Leeds up, but we expect at least 2-3 Arsenal goals. And that's currently available at 1.71 at matchbook.com. All right, another game on Sunday, Mark. This is your game of choice, Leicester against Everton. So I will start with you for this one and the current match odds as we have it at matchbook.com. You can back Leicester 2.5. Obviously, we're recording this on Thursday morning. The Foxes are away in Rome for that conference tie against Roma. Everton at 3.1. The draw available at 3.45. It's a draw no bet market on the main age and handicap line, which is 0.0 at matchbook.com. And obviously, Leicester favourite there 1.8. You can keep the draw some bit on side with Everton 2.14. And 2.5 is the total, slightly shade towards the under. Mark, big win for the Toffees last week against Chelsea. So there's a bit of life in them. But what do you make of this one? I mean, again, look, I think Adrian, posed them last week. Leicester coming back from that Thursday night. We expect probably a bit of a rotation. Now, Leicester haven't been in great form in the league as well. Like they haven't won a game in 5 as well. So it's going to be a tough one here for
them. I'll probably be opposing yours and possibly Adrian's views on this match. Really, there's no way I'll be backing Everton in this match, regardless of what Leicester are doing. In all honesty, I think
you weren't blown away so by that 1-0 win against Chelsea, no?
Absolutely not, because there's been a lot of positivity surrounding it since. But given their dues, the pressure was on after what Burnley did, and they delivered the result. That's all that matters at this time of the year against the odds. But I think some of the praise has gone a bit over the top. obviously the results are what matters, but Jordan Pickford was quite comfortably the man of the match. The Goodison Park crowd and the atmosphere leading up to the game and during the match was definitely the 12th man, gave them that extra lift. And I just think on another day in the same circumstances, they don't win that match and suddenly they're right in the mire again. And I think this is the big test for them now, to go when the pressure is slightly less off them, but the expectation is there to go and produce a result against the Leicester team, who clearly are probably, I wouldn't say on the beach because they might be in a European final, but with attention elsewhere. But Everton's away record is, I mean, we talked about it all season, but you run out of words to describe it. It's shocking. They picked up 2 points on the road since August. They've picked up 6 points all season away from home. 4 of them were in August. They've lost 12 of 16 away games. And sure, Leicester might have prioritised Europe and have attention elsewhere. But Everton have failed to win any of their 7 games away at bottom half teams. They've lost 6 of them. They've lost at Norwich. They've lost at Burnley. They've conceded twice or more in 12 of 16 away games. So why are they suddenly just going to beat Leicester? Because Leicester have got attention elsewhere. Leicester have got better players than any of those teams. So, yeah, I mean, just because a team needs to win at this time of the season, for me, doesn't just guarantee that they're going to get a result, and doesn't mean that the price should be artificially shortened because of it. And of course, Leicester are going to be resting, rotating. We'll see the weekend team here. But I think from a positive perspective, they're relatively injury-free now. I think Ndidi's probably the only first-teamer who's missing. And the players who will come into the team are clearly got ability. And if they are in a European final, there's still a lot to play for them to try and break into that midweek team. So, and their record at the King Power deserves respect. They're unbeaten in 12 when you exclude the top 5. They've won 8 of those 12. They've lost once against bottom half opposition across all venues all season. So clearly, even when they've been going through their worst of it this season, they've been managing to get results. But yeah, I mean, I still wouldn't back Leicester because of attention elsewhere. But there's obviously no way I'm backing Everton either. So for me, I thought the goals. I don't know why goals are being underrated in Leicester matches for some reason recently. It must be because of the rotation. But both teams to score here is 1.8, and that's big. That's big for an ordinary Premier League game, let alone 2 with teams who just can't defend. 13 clean sheets between them all season. Leicester top the both teams to score charts, 67%. 9 of Everton's 16 away have followed suit. Everton have scored in 6 of the last 7. Need the points. Leicester more relaxed. It just feels like it could be quite a watchable game for me. And I think both teams to score is underrated. And I think there's so many unquantifiables around this match. It's just inflating certain prices and seeing certain kind of shrink, which I just think goals are the answer here. So yeah, I'm quite interested in that price. I think it's quite nice.
And Adrian, Mark's probably right. Look, one solo doesn't make a summer by that, just that one Everton win. But nor do you probably want to be with the Foxes in this one either. So you made a show in a run sheet, 3.45 the draw. It's not a bad price, Adrian.
I like the draw. Look, I can't really argue with anything Mark said. It does scream goals. I think, Everton are more than capable of scoring here. They have to go for it, don't they, to some degree. Richarlison is in good form. I think he scored 4 in his last few games, I think I just lost my train of thought there. I think Richarlison. That's it. Richarlison has an excellent record against Leicester City, 5 in his last 7, and I think he's their main man at the moment in terms of leading the line and making things happen. And I have to say, I think he's playing okay. He's missed. They actually met, didn't they, recently? It was 1-1 at Goodison Park, and Richarlison scored a late equaliser. He should have scored 5 that game. He missed an absolute bucket load. If Leicester don't get a grip on him in the game, a tighter grip on him, he might punish them this time around. So I do give Everton a chance of scoring, and it would back up the both teams to score angle. But I think the draw is a good price. I think it might be the best that Everton can muster with their tactical approach, because they're not going to have much of the ball. Every single game, Everton seem to have between 20 and 40% possession. It'll be no different, I don't think, at the King Power. On the counter, Gordon looked sharp. Gray was better, wasn't he, the other day? And Richarlison, as I say, I think Mina coming back in makes a positive difference, as does Fabian Delph. So they're in a better place, definitely, than they were a couple of weeks ago, Everton. But are they good enough to win the game? I'm not convinced about that. So yeah, look, I wouldn't go against Mark's pick of both teams to score, because I think they're both capable. But the draw at the price 3.4 is attractive, and if you are of an Everton persuasion, you can get them on +1/4, where you obviously get the draw no bet. side of things as well. 1.82 Everton plus a quarter of a goal. But yeah, my pick would be a draw, just a small play, but both teams to score is solid.
Yeah, 3.45 is the draw actually. So look, we'll just take the both teams to score.
Forgot to say, it's the most drawn match in Premier League history. 48% of matches between Leicester and Everton. Obviously, that's a lot. End in draws. So there you go. Yeah, that's the key stat that I should have referenced.
That's a very high percentage.
Yeah, it's a high percentage. Yeah, the good man for the stat is Adrian Clarke, but I'm still going to take Leicester and Everton, both teams to score at 1.8 because it is Mark's game of choice. Your game of choice, Adrian Clarke, is Burnley against Villa, and all of a sudden, Burnley may just be staying up. 3.15, you can back the cards here. Aston Villa 2.52, the draw available at 3.4. Burnley getting a quarter of a goal start at 1.83, which is 5 to 6 in fractional terms, and 2.25 is the goal line, slightly shade towards the over there at 1.84. 3 wins on the bounce. Mike Jackson is getting a do now. This team, Adrian Clarke, and what you think? What you make of this one?
Villa too short. Villa too short, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean,
but is it not like kind of looking at it? If you look at kind of the 11 that both teams put out, obviously Burnley still have a few injuries there as well. But they've had those injuries the last couple of games too, and they've won.
Yeah, look, it's an even looking match on paper. I just think that Burnley, with the home advantage, with the wind in their sails, the importance of the game from their point of view, I would have expected them to be slightly shorter, but it's fine. They're actually unbeaten at home, Burnley, and they've had a terrible season, as we know. They're unbeaten at home to anyone 12th or below, and Villa fall into that category. They've scored in 5 of their last 6 games. Villa, okay, they beat Norwich last time out. They drew at Leicester, but it's been a while since you would say that Villa were in good form. So no, I think that they've got a great chance here. I did a little bit of analysis on Burnley for the Premier League this week and how they've changed under Mike Jackson. I mean, the shots, they're having four extra shots per game, 1.5 extra shots on target. The expected goals for Burnley under Dyche was 1.1 a game. It's 2 a game under Mike Jackson. He has really revolutionised the way they play. Not that much in terms of a tactical point of view. They're still in the same sort of shape. It's still the same players. He's just liberated them. He's just said, trust each other, run with the ball a little bit more. Don't just always play the early long ball. Play it into somebody's feet. Give it to Aaron Lennon. Give it to Dwight McNeil. They can make something happen. I was looking at the ball carries. They've risen from 65 per match to 90 per match. That's a dramatic shift in the way that they're traveling with the ball, in the way that they're looking to get at opponents. And I don't think Aston Villa's defence at the moment is watertight. They're capable of picking up clean sheets. We know that under Steven Gerrard, but yeah, I think that Burnley are a good value at the price. I'd be reluctant to back them on the nose. They have failed to score in, I think, 44% of their matches this season, Burnley. So despite this change, there's always the possibility that they'll draw a blank. But yeah, I quite liked Burnley plus a quarter of a goal there. So you get the draw onside, and then in part. So yeah, 1.84 for Burnley plus a quarter of a goal. So the Burnley win pays out, the draw pays out. So yeah, or in part at least. So yeah, I'm all over that one. I couldn't get on Aston Villa at the price, and there's so much at stake here for Burnley, and they've come so far in such a short space of time under Mike Jackson that I don't think they'll blow it in this particular game. I think they'll be bang up for it.
Yep, slightly limited in AC to 1.83, but yeah, you're making money on this for the win. Mark, in agreement on this one?
100%, yeah. And even the odds make no sense to me. Burnley's last 3 matches at Turf Moor, their closing price has been 2.59 at home to Everton, 2.7 at home to Southampton, 2.57 at home to Wolves. Obviously won all 3 of those games. They generated over 5.5 expected goals across them. and had 31 shots from inside the penalty area. So, just backing up what Adrian says about being much more attack-minded, front-footed, and it's paying off. But bear in mind of those prices, compare that to the 3.15 against Aston Villa. Well, Villa are dramatically better than the rest of those three teams, possibly Everton, but the other two, you'd have to say they're probably in a similar sort of bracket. So there's a clear difference of opinion then. And I've just seen recently the market has had a bit of a love affair with Villa and Steven Gerrard. And remember, they went off as favourites away at Leicester a fortnight ago. They went off as favourites away at Wolves previous to that as well. Kind of puzzling to me a little bit, really. To me, Villa are a bit in transition at the minute. They've not made as bigger progress as I probably anticipated. I'm not really sure what the longer term plan is with this team. Watkins and Ings have looked dangerous when paired together, but they've not done that often enough. And searching for the right blend in midfield. Defensively, they look a little bit fragile at times with the individuals there. Then you've got the Coutinho and Buendia conundrum. Do you play both, one of the two, or neither? And yeah, just too many questions rather than answers around Villa at the minute. But the reason why they're going off shorter prices is just genuinely down to the underlying numbers, which to me is quite hard to believe, really, when you watch actually Villa play. But over the last 12 and 16 game splits, in terms of expected goals process, they're ranked 6th in the Premier League behind the current top 5, which is quite surprising, really. And that's what's driving the prices on Villa. But as I say, I don't see the same sort of progress with my eyes as the numbers are suggesting. So chuck in the potential motivational issues. Are those players in mid-table mediocrity really keen on going to Turf Moor for a dogfight at the end of May? Probably not. So absolutely no chance am I keen on Villa at the prices. They're only 6 points better than Burnley in the league table. They've lost 10 of 17 away, and Burnley have only lost 6 of 17 at home, 4 of which were against the top 4 as well. So I'd watch this market, actually, because if the market is keen on Villa, there could still be a move towards them again before this match at the weekend. At the moment, Burnley plus a half isn't too far off 1.7, so you might even be able to get Burnley plus a half on side. And I'd be pro Burnley in this match for sure.
All right. Yeah, you said it about Turf Moor, but I'd say whatever about the second or third week in May, first week in January, going up there is a different game altogether. So we'll go there. Quick recap of what we have here. So, guys, before we get to EFL in Europe and best bets, we have Liverpool and Spurs, both teams to score yes at 1.78. Arsenal to win and over 1.5 goals against Leeds, that's 1.71. Leicester, Everton, both teams to score 1.8. But a very strong show for the draw, 3.45 for Mr. Clarke in that one. Burnley plus a quarter of a goal at 1.83. We just touched on it there. Insights.matchbook.com. It's a full recap of those selections and the other selections from the show. That'll be up from Thursday afternoon about 1 p.m. Insights.matchbook.com. So you can check it out there. Adrian, Bristol Rovers last week, we touched on the top, big win against Rochdale. They scored 4 there, obviously 2 very late to get us up with the winning bet. How many will they score against Scunthorpe this week?
I think they might get a few, This is huge. I looked at this last night. I looked at Bristol Rovers -2 against Scunthorpe last night. It was 1.95. It's now 1.81. So there's a little bit of a move there. Someone's changed their mind on
1.79. 1.79.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Keep going.
Yeah, look, Scunthorpe are down. This is their last match in the EFL before they go into the National League. They're on their knees. The last thing they need is a packed house at the Memorial Ground, and they've got something going under Joey Barton. They're the second best team over the last 12 games behind Exeter, who look like they're going to be champions. I think they're the best team statistically over the last 10 games, Bristol Rovers. They've been immense, barely conceding a goal. They've got a lot of goal threats. Obviously, last week was different with a crazy 4-3 win at Rochdale, which was mad, really. 3-1 down. I thought I was a goner, but they came back in style. And I think the momentum that win created will just make this ground absolutely alive and buzzing on Saturday afternoon. And it's just Scunthorpe will not want to be there, and I can see Bristol Rovers just tearing into them from the word go. Now they're level with Northampton, so they just have to better Northampton, who have a 5-goal better on the goal difference, Northampton. So there is a chance that they can both win, but if Bristol Rovers get an absolute tonking, they could sneak in to the top 3. So there's a lot of motivation here for Bristol Rovers to go for it. I like Bristol Rovers and over 3.5 goals. I think the price is great when you compare it with the 1.79 on Rovers -2. Okay, so you're thinking, okay, they're going to score 3
Yeah.
goals here to win the game. Well, you look at Bristol Rovers and over 3.5 goals, it's 2.54. Doesn't make sense to me. Scunthorpe, okay, they might chip in with 1. I wouldn't see them score, maybe 2, but yeah, I think that this is a very attractive price, and yeah, I can't turn away from this particular selection.
Up the Pirates. Are we?
Yeah, they've been quite good to us lately, Bristol Rovers.
Yeah. And John,
on Rovers, I was just going to say on Rovers, I did a little look last weekend. They've actually earned the most points in the division going back to the 1st of December. So their form is sustained for a long spell. Yeah.
They'll actually be quite unlucky not to go up as automatically. If they are into the playoffs, they should be the favourites.
All right, League 2. We're going to stick with League 2. Obviously, it's the final day of League 2 along with the Championship as well. Harrogate against Sutton, over 2.75 goals, so 1.89.
Well, last day of the season, I always like goals. I think that things can go a little bit crazy. I mean, I don't know whether there's a stat that backs this up, Mark, but it feels like last day of the season you get a little bit more carnage going on. These are 2 of the highest scoring teams in the division. Only Swindon and Forest Green have scored more than Sutton, who have had a great campaign, first in the EFL. They've got the motivation. They need to win this game to give themselves a chance of getting into the playoffs. So they will be going for it. Harrogate are very, very attack-minded. Can't keep clean sheets, but they do score a lot of goals. 7 of the last 8 Harrogate games have gone over 2.5. 62% over the whole season for Harrogate have gone over 2.5, which is the second highest in the division, actually. So yeah, I fancy Sutton here. Sutton lost 4-1 to Bradford at home last time out, but I've looked at their record when they sort of after a defeat, and it's 7 wins, 2 draws, and 7 wins, 4 draws, 2 defeats after a loss. So if you want to get Sutton on side, I wouldn't go against that. But my angle here would be goals. I think it'd be very entertaining end of season fare here. Over 2.75, 1.89.
All right, Mark, take us to France. Angers against Bordeaux. Obviously, a couple of rounds left in Ligue 1. Bordeaux, defensively, Mark, they've conceded 85 goals in 35 games. So, obviously, there's no clean sheets going on here. But Angers obviously looked at they've actually done pretty good to be comfortably ahead of relegation.
Yeah, so the Coupe de France in final this weekend, so there's a bit of a reduced slate in Ligue 1, but this is a big game at the bottom, really, and an important game, I should probably say, because Angers started the season, their first campaign in 11 without their sort of legendary head coach, and they tried to change things quite dramatically in the dugout, really, with a completely different style of coach, and they started the season really strongly. But things have slowly tailed off, and they've kind of sleepwalked their way into a relegation battle. So since September's international break, they've only earned 3 points more than the worst performing team in the division during that sample. They've won 5 of the last 31. And yeah, they'll see this game as a winnable opportunity because of Bordeaux's plight, but they're certainly in the mire themselves. And if they fail to win this game, they will be in trouble. So, you mentioned Bordeaux and their defence, absolutely rotten, just 1 clean sheet all season, averaging 2.43 goals against all season. And in Angers, they're playing a team who've kept 4 clean sheets in that 31-game sample as well. So neither team know how to defend. Both know the importance of this match. And I think this is one of those occasions where normally in 6-pointers you look to try and oppose goals. But I think Angers will see this game as a perfect opportunity to secure survival, playing a Bordeaux team who just do not know what to do without the ball, but a Bordeaux team who are showing weird sort of signs of life themselves. They're giving it a go, and they're not quite last chance saloon. It's not quite win or bust, but it's very, very close to being that, because I think they're 4 points off the relegation playoff place with 3 games to play. So they'll obviously see this game as a winnable opportunity themselves, and I just think there's going to be quite an open game with both teams having a crack at it, really. Bordeaux's matches average 3.77 goals per game. No team in France has seen both teams to score winners. 69% win rate in that regard. 11 of their 15 against the bottom half have seen both teams scoring, as have 15 of Angers' 21 against teams in 8th and below. So, tie it all together and both teams to score at 1.82. It's basically been priced up on the whole league-wide averages this season, but Ligue 1's averaging around 2.75 goals per game. BTDS hitting 54% of the time. I think this is a reason to believe there'll be more goals than just the average. So, yeah, both teams to score would be the angle at around 1.83.
All right, head to Italy now. So Salernitana, you're backing them in the Asian handicap. Straight up, they draw no bet at 0.0 versus Calgary. It's a good story, the Salernitana team. I mean, David Nicola comes in again and has this kind of Houdini. Like their last 4 games, they've beaten Sampdoria, Udinese, Fiorentina, and they've drawn with Atalanta. Like if I told you that was occurring December and January, this team was done. Like even off the field, they were just finished.
Yeah, they were 1.01 for relegation. It's just remarkable, really. He's done this before, Nicola. Produced a great escape with Crotone back in 2017. He's saved Genoa and Torino from relegation in the last 2 seasons. He took over Salernitana in February, team bottom, 3 wins from 23, going absolutely nowhere. And the turnaround has just been, it's hard to put into words what he's done there, but it's a bit tricky sort of talking about this game because this is the second of 2 huge 6-pointers.
Yeah.
Salernitana, they play on Thursday night against Venezia, who are rock bottom. And in no form whatsoever. So it's a huge opportunity for them to get a win. They're only 2 points off Cagliari, who they play on Sunday. Cagliari occupy the final sort of position of safety in Serie A. So they could, in theory, be above Cagliari going into the game if they do beat Venezia. But 2 huge opportunities to secure survival, really, because they're the team in form down there, and Venezia and Cagliari certainly aren't. And I back them to get something out of this game. Cagliari had a bit of a resurgence through the winter, but they've since lost 7 of 8. I think most worryingly was just absolute no-shows and defeats away at Genoa and Spezia, 2 teams in the bottom 6. And their road record traditionally is pretty wretched. They're an island team, and I'm always quite kind of nervous about backing an island team away from home. And they've scored 13 goals away this season, give up around 2 goals per game, lost 10 of 17 away, just 2 clean sheets across all venues. So if you fancy Salernitana to score, which they probably should, I think the draw no bet option comes into play here. And look, this is a team who are rated better by the data, by the results, and the eye test since Nicola arrived compared to Cagliari. And if you felt these 2 teams were rated sort of an equal quality, Salernitana should be around 2.25, 2.3-ish. They're not, they're 2.5. Basically, the market's pricing them up across the whole campaign rather than what we've seen under Davide Nicola, who's just working miracles at the minute. So happy to have them on side.
Yeah, and he's got the 39-year-old Frank Ribery in the team as well. So yeah, good storylines all around there. Be good to see them.
Is he just a firefighter? This guy is he rubbish over the course of a whole season? Like why haven't I heard of him?
He's Sam Allardyce, the Italian version of Sam Allardyce.
Pretty much, yeah. He's a bit of a lunatic. You may have seen the video that went viral of him taking his shoe off and threatening his players with the shoe during one of those victories. He's let's say he's not the most PC of coaches either. So, but it tends to work at this time of year. So.
Yeah, Fergie keeps in the dressing room. He just throws it out his shoe into the field. All right. Adrian, go back to the championship final day here as well. Luton, fair old tonking against Fulham, but you fancy them to beat Reading and or to be over 1.5 goals. Reading defensively away from home this season have been brutal. Like they've had 2 clean sheets.
Not good. Yeah, Reading. Yeah. It was shocking, wasn't it, for Luton, and an absolute blow to them to lose 7-0. The goal difference swing was huge, but Luton Town's record when they've been beaten in matches in the Championship this season is outstanding. They almost always come back with a win, and they haven't come this far, Luton Town, under Nathan Jones, to blow it at home to Reading on the final day of the season. All they need is a win. They'll secure their playoff position. Reading have nothing to play for. A lot of their players coming to the end of their contracts. There's a lot of uncertainty there. Is Paul Ince staying or going? Or who's going to be there? I just think that this, if they could have picked any fixture for the final day of the season where they need to secure a playoff berth, Luton Town would have gone for this one. Luton Town home games average 2.64. 15 of 22 at home have gone over 1.5. Reading away games average almost 3. I think it's 2.9 a game. All but 5 of their away games have gone over 1.5 goals. So, yeah, I fancy Luton, a highly motivated Luton to get the job done and for there to be a few goals. Reading are always worth a goal because, they've got some talent in forward areas. But if they blow it here, Luton, they will be heartbroken, and I don't think they will. So yeah, Luton and over 1.5 against Reading on the final day is my best bet.
All right, good luck there in the championship for Adrian's best bet. Mark, very quickly, we covered already. You felt Arsenal were undervalued at the market, and they're going to be your best bet of the week.
Yeah, Arsenal are your sort of flat track bullies in this kind of environment at home to bottom half teams, and I don't think they'll get a better sort of stylistic matchup as they will rather than against Leeds at the Emirates. Leeds team who are missing 3 massively valuable players in Cooper, Dallas and Bamford. Traditionally, they don't tend to fare well against the elite opposition. If you look at their record against the top 6 this season, 10 defeats from 10, conceding 42 goals, well over 3 expected goals per game on average as well. It's just going to be difficult for them, I think. An Arsenal team back in the groove with a huge amount to play for. I expect them to win, and if they do win, it'd be a surprise if it's just 1-0. So back Arsenal to win and over 1.5 goals.
Yeah, and that's currently available at 1.71, but I'll bet you this will go off a bit shorter. All right, we've compiled both guys' best bets as ever at matchbook.com. Put it on our podcast specials tab, and it's currently available at 3.25, which is 9-4 in fractional terms. And again, if you see that better elsewhere, please let us know at Team Matchbook on Twitter or at my own handle at Sully Matchbook at Twitter, and we will top that up further. 11 wins from the last 12 selections from the guys, so finishing the season strong. Good to see it. Adrian, Mark, thanks as ever. I'm away next week. Our producer Dan will be filling in. He'll take good care of you. Best of luck, guys. No pressure again this week because we've only had a couple of winners in the last couple of weeks, but hopefully we'll finish the season strong. All right, until next week, best of luck with your bets. Don't forget insights.matchbook.com. Check out a full recap of these selections and from our other podcasts. But until next week, goodbye for now, and the best of luck with your bets.